Yo, 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 what's going on, people? Salute. It's your boy Jay Jordan back again for another watch along. I know I haven't been on stream in a while. Work's been crazy, and sometimes you don't want to suffer too much burnout when you're doing during the day and working on NBA stuff, and then to come home and do more NBA stuff is a little taxing on the brain. But we have some WNBA stuff tonight. Earlier today, around 11 a.m. Eastern, the New York Liberty had the introductory press conference for their new head coach, Chris DeMarco. It was broadcast on the Liberty's platform called Liberty Live. I tried to record it before I left to go to work. It didn't work out, so I ended up going to work. But of course, they released it on YouTube a couple hours later for everyone to be able to consume. So I've listened to it a little bit as I was driving to work. I wasn't really paying attention. I also listened to it on the way home. My mom was playing it as we were on the phone in the background, and I was trying to tune it out so I could have a fresh perspective as we watch it together here. So and I try to avoid social media as well. I already seen some quotes and things being interpreted certain ways, so I try to put that to the back of my mind before looking at it here on the stream with y'all. Salute to it. What's good, bro? What's going on? All right, so we're gonna get into this in a bit. Just to give you a little background on head coach Chris DeMarco, just to give you a tiny bit of background on his expertise. He's his full name, of course, is Christopher DeMarco. His most recent experience has been with the Golden State Warriors. He's been with the Golden State Warriors coaching staff since 2012 as an assistant coach. And he's still with them to this moment. I think he said he's going to transition fully over to the Liberty at the top of the year, so January 1st. I think they mentioned it in the press conference. We'll see how that goes. But as of now, he's still on the Golden State Warriors coaching staff. He was with the Warriors, of course, during their 4 championships, 2015, 2017, 2018, and 2022. As recently as 2019, he was appointed head coach of the Bahamian men's national basketball team. So that is his coaching experience at the pro level. He's been with the Warriors since 2012. So he has about 13 years of NBA experience as an assistant coach and coming up on, 6 years as the head coach of the Bahamas men's national basketball team. Chris DeMarco is 40 years old. He just turned 40 in September. And he will be the new head coach of the New York Liberty for the upcoming WNBA season if we actually have one. Dude, start freezing your butt off. Yeah, bro, it is. It's brick outside. It's been brick outside for a little bit now. But welcome to the Northeast during this time of year. Just try to bundle up, stay as warm as possible, and that's all you can really do. All right, so I'm not gonna hold you guys too much longer. Let's get right into the press conference and see what Chris DeMarco and, of course, Jonathan Kolb had to say earlier today. Salute to everyone who's joining. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe. As much WNBA stuff as I can do, I will do on the channel in this off season. So as soon as we get some news about the CBA and that we're actually having a season, then we can shift into predictions for the future and stuff like that. But until then, we just gonna lock in on the news that as it comes. All right, let's get into it.
Hey, how are we doing? It's great to see you guys. Thank you for being here on such an important day for the New York Liberty. To get started, I think it's important just by detailing the journey that got us here. This search took over 2 months to complete, and you guys meticulously chronicled that, so appreciate the coverage. But honestly, that was by design. We ran a detailed search because the standard that we're chasing, it requires it. And we weren't interested in making a quick hire. We were interested in making the right hire. I feel confidently that that's what we owe to our players, and it's also what we owe to our fans. It's to see the entire process through for each and every candidate, vetting them not just on basketball, but on their vision for culture, leadership, accountability, and alignment. Now, that level of diligence, it takes a village, so I would like to take just a couple of seconds to thank the people that helped to curate that search with me. Takia Clark, Dustin Gray, Epiphany Prince, Andrew Wade, Parker Lovett. Your insight, your preparation, and your dedication to evaluating every detail, it was invaluable. Of course, I'd also like to thank our owner, Clara Wu Sai, for providing us with not only the resources, but the runway to do this the right way. Her commitment to excellence, it truly is second to none. So when we stepped back at the end of the season, we started to evaluate not just the job description for the head coaching position with the New York Liberty, but really where the game of basketball is going within the WNBA. And we asked ourselves as a group, what qualities are essential to build a team that relentlessly pursues championships, while also setting the standard within the WNBA. And so we came up with criteria that we felt were non-negotiables for our future. And so to go over some of those, we needed somebody with elite level tactical competence, somebody who's a leader that possesses a deep curiosity for the game of basketball, but also an unwavering drive to uncover every possible strategic edge. We needed somebody that understands the habits that go into building a dynasty, somebody that's been in a championship culture and understands the cost of greatness, but equally as important, the accountability that's required to sustain that greatness.
I just want to pause there right quick. So I will say Jonathan Kolb, he's stuck to what he's been talking about over the past couple months. He's talked about someone who's tactical. That was his first thing, somebody who's tactical in calling plays, adjusting to different situations on the court, drawing up plays, all that good stuff. Then he said someone with championship experience and mindset. As I mentioned in the intro, Chris DeMarco has been a part of 4 championships with the Golden State Warriors as an assistant coach, so he knows what goes into that. And there was another thing he said. Let me rewind a little bit.
Strategic edge. We needed somebody that understands the habits that go into building a dynasty, but curiosity for the game of basketball, that possesses a future. And so to go over some of those, we needed somebody with elite level tactical competence, somebody who's a leader that possesses a deep curiosity for the game of basketball, but also an unwavering drive to uncover every possible strategic edge.
So somebody who's curious about basketball, and that's a leader. So I'm extra quiet. Oh, let me turn my mic up. My bad. Hopefully that's a little better. But somebody who's curious about the game of basketball and just looking to look into every aspect of it. So that's pretty interesting. Coming from Jonathan Kolb. I guess he's been really sticking to that though, so I can't say that he's switched up. He's stuck to that a lot. What's up, Albert? He says I was shocked when I saw a video of the Liberty press conference. I saw there were more than 50 reporters there. Yeah, this was a much awaited press conference. You know, the Liberty don't talk a lot. So when they do, oh, this thing just locked me out. Hold on, y'all. That is hilarious. Oh no, I see what happened. My stream deck is trying to get me to do stuff. But that's pretty interesting there. Pretty interesting. Let's continue.
We needed somebody that understands the habits that go into building a dynasty. Somebody that's been in a championship culture and understands the cost of greatness, but equally as important, the accountability that's required to sustain that greatness. And then just as critically, as we enter, unprecedented levels of expansion within our league,
Tudo,
we
maybe
needed an
shots
industry
fired?
leader
Maybe.
when it comes to player development. We have to be an organization where our star players are routinely adding layers to their game, but also where our role players are developing and turning into starters. And we need to plant our flag as the home of development, where players around the league know that this is where you come if you want to be at your very best.
Pause that there. So Chris DeMarco, in his role as an assistant coach, he was tasked with helping develop a lot of the young players from Steph Curry, Klay Thompson's rookie and sophomore and early years, up to now Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, Pat Spencer, all those guys that they have there now. So he's been a part of that developmental team to help them get the best out of their talents there. So Jonathan has talked about being a very developmental organization. You saw Kennedy Burke and her improvement from the first year she was here to this year. We've seen Sabrina start to get better every year, Benai Jelani Hamilton. So there's been a number of players that have been a part of this, have come into this organization and have developed really nicely and have improved year over year. So I know that was a big aspect of what he was looking for.
So with that criteria, we then cast a wide net, and we had the opportunity to speak to truly some amazing candidates. We looked at head coaches, assistant coaches. We looked at college programs as well as the NBA, and we really just let the evidence guide us. And as we went through our process, it just became evident that Chris DeMarco was a personification of the profile we're looking for. When you look at Chris, he spent 14 years inside of the Golden State Warriors organization.
Hope you're doing well.
And that gave him a rare and invaluable perspective. He lived through a pivotal transition period of eras, and he watched a great foundation evolve into a historic dynasty. And he saw firsthand what it takes for a contending team to break through its ceiling, but then for that breakthrough success to become repeatable. And I think it's important to note, he did not just witness that transformation, but his fingerprints were all over it. And then when you look at his experience as a head coach with the Bahamas national team, he orchestrated a historic run, and he led a program to unprecedented success. And in that role, he demonstrated an elite ability to quickly adapt. He was adapting to new rule sets, fluctuating rosters, in high-pressure elimination environments. And while doing so, he proved that he can do more than just manage a system, but he can build one that fits the talent in front of him.
Boom. So listen, this is what he's been preaching. He said adaptable again. That's one of his key words, being adaptable, being able to work with the talent in front of you, no matter how talented or how little the talent is. So listen, he's if we're looking at what he says and the ideal person to fit that description from what he's describing of Chris DeMarco, that fits the bill. So listen, it seems like he's found his ideal person. Let's continue. Rewind a bit.
Environments. And while doing so, he proved that he can do more than just manage a system, but he can build one that fits the talent in front of him. So when you take it all in, Chris possesses a rare combination of tactical savvy, emotional intelligence, as well as an unrelenting work ethic that aligns well with our players, as well as just like who we are as a franchise. So we believe that Chris is the right person at this time to unlock the full potential of our group and to lead the New York Liberty to the levels that we all expect. So without further ado, it's my privilege to introduce the next head coach of the New York Liberty, Chris DeMarco.
Thank you.
clap it up. I mean, the man can give a speech. I'll give him that. A real politician, like Sierra said. Yeah, those words. Transformative, adaptable, resilient, emotional intelligence. Yo, listen, man. I mean, this is what the guys have been talking about. So what can I say? But clap it up. You got away with words, my friend. You got away with words. Let's go. Let's continue here.
I want to thank Jonathan. I want to thank Clara Usai and the entire ownership group for this opportunity. Kia Clark, it was a joy talking to you over our Zoom calls early and then seeing you again the other night. And then everybody else in the Liberty organization. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. I also want to thank the Golden State Warriors. I spent 14 seasons with that organization. And Steve Kerr, Mark Jackson, the entire coaching staff, those who are there now and have left, ownership group, Peter Guber, Joe Lacob, and especially the players who really allowed me to grow into what I am today as a coach. I also want to thank the Bahamas Basketball Federation. I was an assistant coach for, I think, 4 or 5 years when they made the decision to hire a young coach who had no head coaching experience. And without them, I, again, would not develop into where I'm at today. And we made a heck of a run on the brink of the Olympics, and I feel like I'm Bahamian, if we're being honest, and it's I owe it to all those players, some who were highlighted in the summer and some who played in windows where we're in Puerto Rico and we have 30 fans and we have to win to keep the dream alive.
That's funny. So he got a Bahamian on the roster. If Jonquel Jones comes back, you got a Bahamian. If he feels like he's Bahamian, he better be able to be the Jonquel Jones soothsayer. That's dope, though. So let's see. Let's continue.
Where we're in Puerto Rico and we have 30 fans and we have to win to keep the dream alive. Lastly, I want to thank my family for their incredible support. Anybody who works in sports, which is the majority of people here, know the sacrifices it takes, the things you miss out on, weddings, funerals, whatever it is. It's a difficult life that we all live, and without my family, I would not be in this position today. I'm absolutely honored to be in the head coaching role in the WNBA. The league is expanding rapidly. It's really exciting. It's where I want to be, and there's just a tremendous growth each year. And I get a chance to coach the greatest basketball players in the world. And the same goes for the Liberty. When I landed here, I was just blown away. Like world-class organization. I stepped in up to Barclays, and the LEDs had my face on it. Like made me feel welcome. I go from coaching the other night to all of a sudden I'm a head coach here in New York, the greatest city in the world. And
yes,
just from the second I stepped into Barclays, walked onto the court, saw the Jumbotron, whether I was doing content or meeting with Jonathan and his team for meetings, and everybody's just so great. And I'll say it again, it's a world-class organization.
All right, so that is a world-class organization a bunch of times, but listen, it is. And the Liberty do a good job of welcoming, new people to the team. Right outside the arena, there's a nice little LED thing. They're able to put a bunch of stuff on, put his face up there. They're able to take the pictures there and whatnot. I saw he took pictures with the players that were there. I think it was Sabrina, Benijah, Niara, and I think one more player was there. I can't remember, but it was at least three. Those three were there to welcome him, and they took pictures outside with the coach, the upper, like the higher up CEO, all that, took pictures with him as well. So I'm glad he feels welcomed. This is his new home for the next. I don't know how long the contract is. I don't think they've said. They really don't be saying how long these contracts be. But I have to do some research on that. See how long his contract is, but he has a huge task ahead of him to accomplish what the Liberty want. Let's continue.
Everybody's just so great, and I'll say it again, it's a world-class organization. Very, very excited, mainly because of the championship pedigree. I think for those who have won at the highest level, it's so hard to get there. And we have an organization that's been there. We have a team full of players who have been there. And I do think that matters when you're trying to win every single season. And I know last season we were unable to repeat, and I think there's some growth there, and we're going to continue to work on that. Lastly, I love the connectivity of the community here. The Brooklyn Basketball Training Center across the street. Can't wait to get over there and work with the youth and be a part of a community in Brooklyn. So.
Thanks, Chris. We'll open up to Q&A, starting with Doug.
Morning, Coach. Doug Feinberg, the Associated Press. Welcome to New York.
Thank you.
Two-part question. What made this the right time for you to make the move from the NBA side to the W, since obviously the Warriors have been so successful for so many years? And was there anyone you've talked to who had made that move already? There's a few other NBA guys who came over to the W in the last couple of years. Did you talk to anyone about what to expect or anything of that nature?
Yeah. I've spent a lot of time on the defensive side of the ball as a coach and started to develop offensively. I've done player development. I've been a video coordinator. I've been a scout. I've done everything I can outside of being a head coach in the NBA. And in the last couple seasons, and I think the Bahamas national team helped form this, I started to realize I would love to be a head coach. And when this opportunity came up and I did just a little bit of research, it was a no-brainer. This is the best opportunity in the WNBA. Again, a championship franchise, and it's what I wanted, and it's why I'm here right now. In terms of talking to other coaches or leaders that went from the NBA to WNBA, I've talked to Nick Uren. I coached with him for many years at Golden State. And Natalie, I spoke to Nate Tibbetts, and I have a lot to learn about the space. So I'm going to spend the time, over the next few months and keep growing and keep learning, and hopefully by the time the season starts, we'll be ready to go.
All right. So he said he spoke to people who have been in the W space that were in the NBA space previously. So Nick Uren, he's with the Phoenix Mercury staff. Natalie Nakase, of course, coached with the Golden State Valkyries, and the other coach, he said Nate Tibbetts, who's the actual coach of the Phoenix Mercury. So he's spoken to people who have transitioned from the NBA space to the WNBA space, and I guess it's given him a nice perspective on what to expect. And looks like he's ready to get this show on the road. Like he said, he has a lot to learn, because even though you've been an assistant coach or you have coaching experience, going from being an assistant with the men's team to being a head coach with the women's team, I'm assuming there's a difference in ways to communicate, in leadership styles, and what is acceptable here as opposed to over here. So like he said, he has a lot to learn, and he has months to learn it, and then we'll get this show on the road.
You kind of hinted at this, but I know that basketball is basketball, but I guess, how have you prepared yourself or gotten ready to coach women?
Yeah. We had 3 games in 4 nights, so I still am doing my assistant coaching role with the Golden State Warriors, but any free time I have, I'm pouring into this. I've probably ordered every book on the New York Liberty like you can find online. And I've always watched as a fan, right? So now I have to shift my focus and watch as a coach. So there's a lot to go back and watch, but I'm a massive basketball fan, and I love every second of it. So I'm going to continue to lean into that, continue to learn about the history of the WNBA, the history of the Liberty. And as we enter the 30th season of the WNBA and the franchise, it's just a really exciting time.
I want to pause there. This is the one quote that when I opened up my Twitter account, that I seen making the rounds, and people were like, that's not something that you want to hear from a coach or something like that. But from what I understood from what he said, from the whole quote, because I think a piece of the quote was posted and people were reacting to that. But like he said, he's still completing his duties with the Golden State Warriors. But in his free time, he's been trying to read up on as much Liberty history and W history as possible. He's been watching the games as a fan, but now that it's time to shift that focus from being watching as a fan to actually coaching the game. So I didn't really see anything wrong with that quote. Let me know if I'm just being ignorant or just overlooking it. But of course, we're all here watching the games as fans, But when we have to actually make the actual decisions about personnel, what the personnel are going to be doing on the court, all scheduling, all these other things, that you have to shift your focus there, in my opinion. And especially coming from not having previous WNBA experience, things that happen in the NBA, probably going to be an adjustment to how things happen in the W. So now he has to learn all of that, shift his focus away from the NBA to the WNBA so that he can get the best out of his team and the best out of himself. So let me know if I'm just looking at it weird. I'll replay the quote so we can hear it again. But that was my interpretation of that.
Watch as a fan, right? So we had 3 games in 4 nights, so I still am doing my assistant coaching role with the Golden State Warriors. But any free time I have, I'm pouring into this. I've probably ordered every book on the New York Liberty, like you can find online. And I've always watched as a fan, right? So now I have to shift my focus and watch as a coach. So there's a lot to go back and watch, but I'm a massive basketball fan, and I love every second of it. So I'm going to continue to lean into that, continue to learn about the history of the WNBA, the history of the Liberty. And, like, as we enter the 30th season of the WNBA and the franchise, like, it's just a really exciting time.
Hey, Coach, over here in the middle, Miles Ehrlich. I guess to further that question, what is it about coaching in both the WNBA and the Liberty organization specifically that did appeal to you with this opportunity?
Yeah. Like I said, it's just a world-class organization. And when I say New York City is the best city in the world, I lived on Long Island until I was in first grade. And so we moved to Wisconsin. My dad's a New Yorker, so he was the coach who was a little intense for the Midwest at times. He had the heavy accent. He had all that, but everything was New York. And so we would come back in the summers, Jones Beach. I'd see family, all that stuff. So I've always been drawn to the city. And again, I talked about the championship pedigree here. I want to go somewhere where we have a chance to win. And with the support of ownership and the way ownership's aligned with management and now the head coach, and it has been, like, this is just an exciting opportunity.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Man said his ultra-Italian dad went from Long Island, New York to Wisconsin. I could imagine that was a culture shock for those Wisconsinites over there, hearing this guy yelling at them with this thick Italian accent you only see in the movies. Hey, cuz, what's going on? So, that's funny. That was funny to hear. Let's continue.
Jackie Powell with the 9 Basketball. Hi, Chris. Nice to meet you. I have a question for Jonathan first, if that's okay. We've seen a lot of fluctuation in coaching in the WNBA in the past few years. You know, in 2020, there was a rule implemented to try to develop the coaching pipeline by adding an assistant that was a former player. And so with that in mind, I guess I'm just curious now in 2025, what you think needs to be the next step in the WNBA to really grow the pipeline. So you have people that are committed to this league who can then get into those head coaching jobs.
Yeah, I think honestly it starts.
Sorry, before he answers, this lady, she works for Next Hoops. Forgot her name. She just said it, but she's always curious. She always starts her questions. I'm curious. It's something that's funny to me. Nah, Colin said bring back the Maddie the dog. Nah, Maddie, it's from Madison Square Garden. Maddie's the past. It's a dub for Maddie. I'm sorry. Maddie, Madison Square. Nah, we with Ellie in Brooklyn now, man. Maddie, R.I.P. Maddie. All right, let's get back to it.
Committed to this league who can then get into those head coaching jobs.
Yeah, I think honestly it starts with us, right? And I think you're going to see that through our coaching staff hires as well as basketball operations hires. I think I'm proud of our track record when you look at women that have come through this organization and elevated and gone on to do great things with other franchises. And I don't think there's any reason to think that that will cease. In terms of what needs to happen, I think it's that. I think it's giving opportunities and talking to as many people as possible. As I said, the game is changing, and I think that's pretty obvious, right? So it's making sure that people are getting the opportunity to learn under the people with those types of minds and that they adopt those skill sets and then get to action those skill sets in a really successful way.
And Chris, for you, I guess I'm just curious, what is your vision for the identity of this team? I'm sure you've taken a look at what it looked like before. What does that look like?
Yeah, I think, again, this is a championship organization, won a championship 2 seasons ago. Find out, obviously, there's injuries last season, but the foundation's there. And when you have players who have already won, it's such a competitive advantage in any league. And so to just build on the foundation that's been set already and use our versatility. We have a lot of players who can do different things offensively and defensively, and we're really, really going to pour into that.
All right, so just reiterating what they said, pouring into both sides of the ball, development, and looking forward to this next season. Let's continue.
Christina Williams, Girls Talk Sports TV. I want to touch on what Jonathan said in his opening statement about your player development. If someone attended one of your practice, what is one of the first things they'll notice about how you like to run things? And then I have a follow-up for Jonathan, if that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really collaborative. It's not just going to be my voice. Our staff's going to mirror my ideas, and I mean, sometimes not, but we're going to be on the same page, and everyone on staff is going to have a speaking role. I am intense, but I'm also very clear about what it is we're trying to accomplish, and it is going to be a player-driven team. I'm not going. Our first meeting isn't going to be, hey, this is what we're doing. Like, we're going to get with the leaders of the team, we're going to get with the entire roster, and we're going to decide how we want to do this together. And I've always found that player-driven teams have more success. And it can't just be coaches all the time coming in and being like, hey, we're not playing hard enough, or hey, this is great. You know, we got to get better here. It's got to be players, too, holding each other accountable. And if it's something we all agree on together, I think it's a lot easier to do that. As far as like a practice goes, like, you're going to see a lot of competitiveness. We're going to be competing 1-on-1, 2-on-2. We're going to be doing a lot of things that I found fun as a player, but also that got me better. And you're going to see a lot of joy around the facility. I want people to want to come to practice. I want people to want to get better, and that's where it's going to start.
Okay. So let's just unpack that a little bit. Let me stop. But he said he wants to have joy around the facility. He wants people to be wanting to come to practice and not dreading coming to practice. So that's something where Sandy sort of excelled at. She had a very good relationship with the players. Every time in practice or the videos and interviews that I've seen from around when the players were at practice, everybody seemed to be in really good spirits. Sandy was also a player coach, but she focused a lot on her main players, even if they weren't having the best of games. She put a lot of the onus on them to correct it instead of all the time trying to like assist them, whether they need to take a seat on the bench for a little bit or whatever the case may be. She put the onus on them to try and fix it, which could be a little bit detrimental in what happened to her and her relocation to Toronto now. But he's saying the right things right now. He wants it to be a collaborative process. He's not just going to be barking out orders and everybody has to fall in line. He wants everyone to have a voice in this because they're a team. And with every team, you want everyone to feel like they're playing their role and contributing, not just on the court or X's and O's, but in different aspects of the game. All right, let's continue. Let me just rewind it a bit.
Agree on together. I think it's a lot easier to do that. As far as like a practice goes, like, you're going to see a lot of competitiveness. We're going to be competing 1-on-1, 2-on-2. We're going to be doing a lot of things that I found fun as a player, but also that got me better. And you're going to see a lot of joy around the facility. I want people to want to come to practice. I want people to want to get better, and then that's where it's going to start.
And then for Jonathan, this is obviously a unique offseason with the CBA negotiations ongoing. How has that transition been like, ushering in Chris while all of this stuff is happening? And how have you guys been preparing him for the 2026 season?
Yeah, it hasn't been busy at all, huh? Yeah, I think we only can control what we can control, right? So it's just planning like we're in a regular schedule right now, making sure that we have, I mean, during the season, we're planning for the off season, right? So now it's just getting ready to execute on those plans. In terms of Chris, I know you thank Steve Kerr. I'm sure he's probably pretty mad at me because I'm blowing up Chris's phone like you wouldn't believe. And it's just trying to get on the same page about what we're doing. We're going to be taking Chris on a world tour for sure, going out to Unrivaled, Athletes Unlimited, going overseas to see players, not only ours, and making sure that we're ready to roll whenever something does that get done. I don't anticipate that the learning curve is going to be that steep. I think we're going to get his feet wet very quickly, and we'll see what happens in terms of an agreement.
Wow. So the GM of the team said, yeah, we throwing him right into the fire. He's going on a world tour. We going Unrivaled. We going Athletes Unlimited. We going European. We going everywhere. Because, listen, everybody's a free agent, so you got to go out and see all these different prospects and players so that when the CBA actually gets done, whenever that is, you're not caught flat-footed. You got to keep doing the groundwork while you still can, you know? Listen, their owners are the richest owners, some of the richest owners out there, some of the richest people in the world. Remember, the Liberty got fined a bunch of money because the owners flew him on a private jet to go somewhere back in like 2021. Conlan, they could probably fact check me on that. When they got fined like some crazy amount of money, they wanted to probably rescind draft picks and bring down the hammer on them. But listen, if you have the facilities and the ability to finance that, especially in a off season as big as this one, where literally everyone's a free agent, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket and then all of a sudden the player doesn't come and then you're scrambling trying to fix the roster when the season's about to start. So listen, get him in, go over to Europe, see those players over there. So he can actually probably see Leonie Fibic over there, see her in person, how she plays in person, see some of the other prospects that are over there that the Liberty have their rights to. See some of the Liberty players like a Kennedy Burke that's over there. And then when the signature gets signed for the CBA, then you can be like, all right, we already got what we want. So I like that. I like that. Rewind a little bit.
Overseas to see players, not only ours, and making sure that we're ready to roll whenever something does that get done. I don't anticipate that the learning curve is going to be that steep. I think we're going to get his feet wet very quickly, and we'll see what happens in terms of an agreement.
Over here, Ben Pickard, The Athletic. Just one
improvements.
quick clarification question, and then one other. Are you still working with the Warriors, or when are you transitioning over to the Liberty?
Yeah. I believe my last game is going to be when we actually play Brooklyn at the end of the month. So, yeah. So, so I'll start January 1st.
Cool.
That's hilarious. So, man probably just gonna pack an extra large suitcase on that road trip, and then they gonna drop him off at Barclays after that Nets game. Be like, all right, Chris, thanks for everything, and they gonna keep going, and Chris gonna just have to stay here and get started on the new job. Listen, a free flight cross country, I don't blame him. I guess it's set up. It was set up that way. I don't blame him at all.
Transitioning over to the Liberty.
Yeah. I believe my last game is going to be when we actually play Brooklyn at the end of the month. So, yeah. So, so I'll start January 1st.
Cool.
But yeah, in the meantime, like any free time I have where I'm not working, I'm obviously committed to my job with the Golden State Warriors right now. But yeah, any free time I'm pouring into this. So.
Cool. And you mentioned this is the place where you want to be. When did you first think you wanted to be a WNBA head coach?
Yeah, I mean, I can't answer the exact moment, but again, the league has been growing, and it's been something I've been interested in. And so it's one of those things where, it comes up, you have those discussions, and then the more you do the research on it, the more enticing it is. Once, I had great phone calls with Jonathan, Clara, Kia, and I was like, wow, like this is it. And then it becomes easy.
Yeah, Matt. He would be a branch off the Kerr tree. I think he was there a little bit for Mark Jackson, but he got a majority of his experience under Steve Kerr. Tudo, thanks for the fact check. New York Liberty fined a record $500,000 by the WNBA in 22 for violating the CBA by using chartered flights and taking a team trip to Napa Valley. Yeah, so that was what I was referencing in the past about the bankroll of the Tsai family. Sierra said, I don't know, they offered more money. Did they offer a revenue share? I forgot. And yeah, it hasn't been anything concrete. It's been like, oh, the WNBA offered this. Oh, the player said no. It's been a bunch of back and forth. But that last part she said is right. Extended till January 9th. So everything is just status quo at the moment until that gets resolved there. But let's continue.
Annie Costable, Front Office Sports. Quick one for Jonathan first. At what point did Chris separate himself amongst the candidates you were talking to? Excuse me.
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, late in the process, I'd say like each meeting we had, and we had several with each and every candidate. Late in the process, once we got to, I'd say, we had a tactical session that we went through, which was something that we put each and every candidate through. And Chris really excelled in that area. Also, when he just spoke about the vision for how he wants us to compete, and was really specific about players, his ability to honestly be coaching in the NBA simultaneously while having plans for us really spoke to us. So I would say, as we narrowed down the list, I know you guys were reporting finalists and all those things, and like I told you, not all the names are out there. So I'd say towards the end, but probably around the tactical session for us.
And then Chris, for you, you're obviously someone who benefited from the coaching development in the NBA. Your career with the Warriors says as much. We heard Jonathan talking about the development of coaches in the WNBA, but what do you want to maybe bring over from your experience in the NBA as far as additive as far as development of coaches goes in the WNBA?
Yeah, I think as much as everyone here talks about player development, there is coaching development as well. And I'm probably not the same coach that I was 10 years ago. Like I got better because of my mentors, the people who taught me the right way to do things. I was raised the right way in the right culture by Steve Kerr. And I've grown as a coach, and I want to do the same for anybody else on my staff. We're going to be intentional with who we hire. We've had a lot of success with the Bahamas national team with a lack of resources, growing coaches in that small amount of time. And I plan on doing the same thing here.
All right, so we heard that tactical word again. I think the Liberty did release a video on their channel about the off season and about what they do during the about some of these tactical sessions, where basically they would bring the upcoming coaches or the coaches into a room, and they would have a bunch of plays on the board or a bunch of scenarios, and the coach or the coach to be has to basically verbalize what they would do in certain situations, and then I guess the Andrew Wade and Jonathan Kolb and I guess some other of the coaching staff would, I guess, grade them essentially on what they think or what their answers were there. So it seemed pretty in depth. I've never heard of that being something done. I know in football, when John Gruden, I know y'all who know football know John Gruden, when he used to have those quarterback sessions when he would like have a play on the board and the quarterback had to like explain it and then say what means what. I guess it's something along those lines. Let's continue.
John Chandler with NBC New York. Congratulations. You spanned, obviously there was some consistency at Golden State, but you started under Mark Jackson, continued under Steve Kerr in that time. Like, what did you learn about building a sustained winner that you think you can bring to this organization?
It's finding the right partners, which I feel like I found with Claire and Jonathan, the rest of the organization. That's the first piece. Like, you have to be aligned, and from alignment it becomes, the roster, right? And if your best players are unselfish, if they're winners, if they are consistent, then it trickles down to the rest of the roster. And that's what I saw over and over again with the Steph Currys, the Draymond Greens, the Klay Thompsons, and all the veterans we would bring in. Andre Iguodala, Sean Livingston, these guys are all pros, and they all teach the younger players how to work, and that's what I saw in terms of like being able to continue to get better and better. Like it didn't matter what we were going through, matter what our record was. Those guys showed up and they worked, and they were good teammates.
Okay.
Hey, Fifi from New York Daily News. For you, Jonathan, last time you spoke, you mentioned that you'll find out a lot about yourself and the team throughout the interview process. So I guess after speaking to all the candidates and with Chris, what did you learn about yourself and the Liberty?
Yeah, it's a good. I mean,
good
I felt like throughout the process, it was incredible how much coaching talent wants to be here, which is really incredible. I mean, I remember being at the league office. It was a different world, honestly. And so going through this process and just seeing the names that came up and the people we had the good fortune of speaking with was incredible. I think there's people in the basketball world that really value our players and our roster. They see potential there that can continue to grow, and that's really exciting for us. We obviously feel that way on our side, but when you hear that outsider's perspective come in and give it like a peek behind the curtain of what can be, that was really enticing. And so I think we learned a lot there, and I also think we just learned how we can get better through different ideas that came through no matter who we were speaking with. So it was a really, I'd say, like an enlightening experience.
That's interesting. So I guess through all the candidates and interviews that they had and people expressing their thoughts on the team and what they would do better and stuff, I guess that's a little cheating, isn't it? Or I wouldn't say stealing ideas or whatever the case may be, but if you interview like 4 or 5 people and they are like, oh, the Liberty, they struggle with this. If I was a coach, I would have them do this. And then another person comes and gives their idea. Another candidate comes in, gives their idea. You as the GM taking all this information in, and you're like, okay. So then when you hire your guy, like that he's hired Chris DeMarco, and he can sort of like drop a little note in his ear, like, hey, like, so what do you think about doing this? Or he'll let him do his thing and just give him little tidbits like, hey, what about this? What about that? So, yeah.
Hello, Jeff Maglicetti with ballslife.com. Welcome to New York, Coach, and thank you for the notepad. I wanted to ask about where this franchise is at this point in time. Just a year removed from a championship, seeking a new coach in a sense. It's safe to say it's one of the more pressure-packed, if not attractive, vacancies the league has seen in quite some time. So how were you drawn to that pressure, and how can you best embrace it as you plow on this path?
I mean, if you ever played any sport and you're competitive, this is what you want. You want to be around the best players in the world. You want to be in the best situations for your career, and you want a chance to win. And if you don't, then this is probably not the right career for you. As far as the pressure goes, I've been not as a head coach, but I've been an assistant coach with a large role in over 175 playoff games. Like I've been out there in the fight, figuring out what we're going to take away, figure out how we're going to beat a team in a series, all of that. And then again with the national team, anybody who's played on a national team or been around national teams, you have limited practices. Player development isn't a real thing because your players are out of market the entire time. Somebody might get hurt. Now you don't have a point guard. And now you're going into a game where if you lose, the World Cup is shot. Your chance at the Olympics is shot. We had to win, I think, 10 straight games with the Bahamas, twice in Argentina, to even have a shot to play in the championship game in Spain against Spain to go to the Olympics. Like, to me, that's real pressure. You've got a country that you're representing, and this means everything to the players. Everybody wants to do something special for their country. So, again, I've always embraced it. I love that part of sport.
Appreciate your time and insight.
Thanks.
Wow, so he gave a pretty in-depth answer. He said, what's pressure? Pressure is when you got to go into another country and turn that thing around. Like we had to win like 10 straight games on the road in other countries just to have a chance. So he talking his talk. He's like, yeah, I was with the Warriors when things was good, when things was bad. And hey, listen, man, we made it out with 4 championships while I was there. I wasn't the head coach, but I was in the trenches with them boys. So, listen, I'm going to bring that same type of mindset and determination to this team. Listen, he talking his talk. Got to respect it.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Brian Florenson from Nets Daily and the Local W. For Jonathan, you mentioned that you want to sort of like stay
What's up, Maddox?
ahead of
Yeah,
the
I do.
competition as far as like being more advanced in the WNBA.
I do. I think they can still compete.
With the hire of Chris, how do you think the Liberty can sort of like stay ahead and sort of keep up with the evolutions of basketball and sort of keeping up with the evolutions in related to what could be a potentially different league context with the new CBA and like going forward?
Yeah, for sure. I can't speak on the CBA part, but just in terms of the game itself, I think one of the biggest qualities that drew us to Chris was just his willingness to adapt and his tendency to adapt. And I think you saw it on the international level. Why is that important?
That adapt word again, y'all. Listen, take a shot every time this man says adapt or you heard adapt in this press conference. You don't have to call the hospital.
Our league is fascinating right now, and that drew us to Chris.
Could be a potentially different league context with the new CBA and like going forward.
Yeah, for sure. I can't speak on the CBA part, but just in terms of the game itself, I think one of the biggest qualities that drew us to Chris was just his willingness to adapt and his tendency to adapt. And I think you saw it on the international level. Why is that important? Our league is fascinating right now when you look at the head coaches and the styles of play. This isn't the NBA where you have similar styles throughout. This is a place where we've got collegiate minds. You've got European influence. When you look at Connecticut's setup, you've got WNBA minds, and now you've got NBA minds. It's a different game night to night. So what that means to me in order to stay ahead is you have to be willing to adapt. You can't be married to certain things. You have to be willing to experiment and go with what works so that by the time the regular season concludes, we know who we are as a team. We know we've got multiple triggers to pull, and we're at our best come September, October.
Good answer. Good answer.
Hi, Maria Marino with ESPN. Chris, congratulations. Obviously, some of your players are sitting in front of you. I was just wondering if you had any relationships or interactions with any of these players, even prior to your head coach candidacy.
Prior, maybe a little bit. Like, I've met everyone at some point, some after the hire, some before. I've reached out to every player on the team. I've had conversations. I've gotten to know them a little bit. Obviously, high character, all great people. Really excited to start coaching them.
How you doing? Coach DeMarco, Kenny Saintville with NYLF TV, also Liberty on SI. Congratulations and thank you for the notepad as well. Hearing about the pipeline from NBA to WNBA, what are some of the misconceptions you might have heard for, coaches transitioning from the NBA to the W, and what do you think is the the area of growth for a team that's already built as a championship roster?
So, yeah, say it again. You said the misconceptions of what?
The misconceptions that you might hear of NBA coaches joining the WNBA. There's been a lot of hearsay here and there. Just want to know, have you heard anything?
No.
Do you have any misconceptions of that?
No, not really. Anybody I've talked to that works in the WNBA or has transitioned from NBA or NCAA has absolutely loved the league, I've no doubt in my mind that I'm going to as well, and I'm already like really, really anxious to get started here.
Thanks, Coach.
We have time for one more in the room.
Hey, Coach. Hi, Benajelina here. I have a little bit of a lighter question for you.
I didn't get you a notepad.
I did not get a notepad.
I was going to say, like, before, that was not going to be a question.
But that's okay.
That's
okay.
B. That's funny.
Coming to New York, just so you know, I am like the team's foodie, self-proclaimed, but, nonetheless the foodie.
Yeah.
What are you most looking forward to now that you're in New York, which is arguably the best food place in the world?
Might not even be arguably. I think it is. The list is, obviously the pizza, the bagels, that's kind of what growing up I remember the most. But I like Peruvian food. I like Brazilian food. Italian food is going to be, there's so many options. I already looked up, the closest Bahamian restaurants, the Caribbean food. It's got everything. I have absolutely no complaints. I'm really excited about it.
Okay. That's all from me.
Oh, and that's it, y'all. And that is it. So we got some insight into what Chris DeMarco and Jonathan Kolb, what attracted them to each other. That sounds a little crazy, but you know what I mean. What attracted Chris DeMarco to the job and the Liberty, and what attracted, and what Jonathan Kolb was attracted to in his interview and his thought process and his adaptability and availability and alignment And what's the other A words he was using? Sierra, give me all the A's that he was using. Let me scroll up. Man gave like the 4, 5, 6 A's that's needed for the Liberty. Had a full on tactical session. So he gave his whole thought process, and he stuck to it. In his end of season press conference, he said what he was looking for, which he tried to say. That's not to say Sandy didn't have it, but that's what he was looking for. Oh yeah, transformative, resilient, and then yeah. So he gave all the buzzwords, you could possibly ask for in a press conference. But the Liberty have their person, have their player. I said their player, have their coach, and now it's up for the WNBA to get the CBA signed so that we could actually have a season. Because at this rate, this man leaving his, I shouldn't say cushy job, but man leaving a nice solid job. He has tenure in that job, 12 years with the Liberty, with the Golden State Warriors, just to leave and come to a league and a team that may not even have a season. I mean, that's a little bit of a risk in my opinion. So, hey, hopefully they get this all situated so we can actually start talking about the basketball and the decisions. We can actually have the expansion draft rules and what goes into that, because we still got to do the expansion draft for the 2 new teams. We can get into free agency. It's supposed to be the biggest free agency ever, and we can't even get it started because there's no rules laid down for how it's supposed to all happen. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Looking at the comments, Maddox, when will they send the new WNBA schedule? Listen, we don't even know if we'll have a season. So until they sign the new collective bargaining agreement, there'll be nothing new to see, you know? So until they get the CBA signed, then we're in a holding pattern here. Con Landing repeating this is JK's 3rd coach he has hired. I don't think he'll get a chance to hire a 4th. I mean, we'll see. That looks like the size trust him. He's brought 1 championship to the team. What is it? He became the Liberty. Moved to Brooklyn in 2019. I mean, the bubble was 2020, and they've won. So if they moved there in 2019, it's 2025. It's about to be 2026. So they've won 1 championship in about 6-7 years. So that's more than they've won in the past double digit 15 plus years before that. So hey, he may get a little bit more leeway if they stay competitive and they make it to finals and stuff. But unless this coaching hire goes completely belly up, I think he'll have a little bit more leeway. Like, so that's my thoughts on that. But it seems like he's Jonathan Kolb. He's stuck to his gun. He's made the choice that agrees with his philosophy on the game of basketball, and may the chips fall where they may. Hopefully they fall in a championship, but we'll see if we have a season. All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all tuning in. I just wanted to make sure we got this video in. We're approaching just about an hour on stream. Appreciate you guys who tuned in. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe if you're new here. I'm going to get up and get away from the computer. I basically sit at a computer staring at screens all day. So time to get up and take a walk around the house and take my glasses off and sort of enjoy the rest of the evening before we have to go back to work in the morning. Appreciate you guys. As always, make sure you subscribe to the join the Discord. We all be chatting in there. Me, Sierra, Tudo, Mads, everybody. We all be in there. Liz, all of us be in there chatting away, whether it's about NFL, NBA, WNBA, regular stuff in life. My cuz be in there, Belly be in there as well. So make sure you join the Discord. Link is in the description, in the channel description. It's at the bottom of the screen as well. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Until then, enjoy the rest of your evening. Salute!